Yesterday, depending on when you're seeing this video, but yesterday, the House Republicans passed the first step towards getting Trump's economic plan enacted, right? The budget reconciliation, right? And you're going to see people in your comment section like this clown here who are just all kinds of giddy, like JoJo, the idiot circus boy with a new pet. And they're going to tell you that, see, libtards, we got no tax on tips. We got no tax on overtime, and we got no tax on Social Security. And you're going to see some of them be every bit as excited as this jamoke here. Hey, Tom, check out what just passed in Congress. 2 exclamation points. And then he left this comment here on this video. Hey, Tom, did you see the spending bill just passed by Congress? Oh, and yeah, ... not one demotard voted for it. 2 exclamation points. Good. I didn't want them to vote for it. Hey, Tom, this is on another video. Space ... space. Did you happen to see what Congress just passed? Space ? You know, the no tax on tips, /SS, /overtime, space ... space. Why don't you tell your viewers how full of shit you are? Space ? 2 exclamation points. Except that's not what passed. No tax on overtime, Social Security, and tips weren't even in there. Was no tax on tips bill passed? House Republican budget resolution explained. This is from this morning, this article. House Republicans took a crucial step towards implementing Donald Trump's, quote, big, beautiful bill on Tuesday, narrowly passing a budget resolution supporting his legislative agenda with a 217 to 215 vote. The passage of the budget resolution means that the House and Senate can now negotiate how to move forward to implement Trump's promised legislation, which would extend tax cuts set to expire and introduce spending reduction across the federal government. The resolution is seeking $4.5 trillion in tax breaks and $2 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years, measures that have met opposition from Democrats and made some Republicans uneasy. All House Democrats opposed the passage of the bill on Tuesday, while the only Republican that voted against it was Representative Ken Massey of Kentucky. The budget resolution does not contain a bill eliminating taxes on tips, as some have mistakenly claimed on social media. In fact, it contains no policy prescription at all, but it does give direction for what legislators should try to achieve, and has officially kickstarted the process of passing through Trump's promised legislation, including ending tax on tips. Massey, the only Republican in Congress to vote against the budget bill or budget resolution, wrote on Twitter, quote, the GOP budget extends the 5-year tax holiday we've been enjoying, but because it doesn't cut spending much, it increases the deficit by over $300 billion a year compared to letting tax cuts expire. Over 10 years, this budget would add $20 trillion to the U.S. debt. Now, that's not a Democrat telling you that. That's not a talking head on TV telling you that. That is far right-wing Republican representative from Kentucky, Massey, telling you that this, if passed, if it goes through, if the things that the Republicans want come to fruition, they will add $20 trillion to the debt over the next decade. The resolution passed on Tuesday does not specify which tax proposals will be included, and the no tax on tips policy remains under consideration. Sorry you got yourself all worked up for nothing, but no, what happened on Tuesday was not the passage of a bill that eliminates tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And if you think it does, work some overtime this week and see if it's taxed next week. And since I'm guessing you probably have trouble with words, here it is in video format for you.
Trump's tax bill just passed the House, and it does not include no tax on tip. It does not include no tax on overtime. It does not include no tax on Social Security. But it does extend the tax cuts for the rich, but not the ones for people making less than $360,000 a year like yourself. Those tax cuts he's conveniently allowed to expire. But don't worry, Donald remembered to include some cuts for you too. $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid and cuts to SNAP. And despite Trump claiming that he was going to pay down the federal deficit, his tax bill calls Congress to remove the debt ceiling so we can increase the debt even further. In fact, the tax bill accounts for about $11 trillion in increases to the federal deficit just this year alone. But don't worry, those millionaires and billionaires, their tax cuts have been codified and will stay in place through 2030. So as a liberal who makes more than $400,000 a year, I want to thank the poor Republicans who are financing my tax cuts. See, by giving up your tax cuts, you were able to make sure that my tax cuts can remain. Thank you for that. You conservatives were right. Donald Trump really is working for the American people, as long as you consider that just the top 1% of the American people.
Now, before any of the inevitable questions happen, and I get these every time that this happens, somebody will say, well, you said 20 trillion to the debt, and that one said 11 trillion to the deficit. Which is it? The debt and deficit are two different things. I always have to wind up explaining this after one of these videos, so I'm just going to do it in the video. Our debt is what is accumulated over all of the time, right? Our deficit is what we run every year. Think of it in terms of your own home finances, right? Let's break this down into a month-to-month basis. Let's say you clear $10,000 a month, right? That's how much you get in your paychecks over the course of a month after taxes. You get $10,000, but you spend $12,000 a month. Your deficit is $2,000, right? Right? We're all in agreement on that? Okay. Your debt would be, at the end of that year, how much did you add up in debt? All those $2,000 deficits every month, you add all of that up, and at the end of the year, that's your debt. That's what you owe. That's the difference between debt and deficit. And I know it sounds stupid to even have to explain that, but inevitably, I will get those comments. So, yeah, once again, sorry you got yourself all worked up for nothing, but wrong.